Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadiens play an interesting game to say the least, but they do come out with a win, their 8th straight win here, no longer in regulation, but we do still get the win 4-3 in the shootout against the New Jersey Devils in New Jersey there, which was basically, a second destination for Montreal there. Montreal fans came in waves to, hopefully see Cole Caufield score his 50th. Unfortunately, it did not happen tonight, but he did get a goal in the shootout, so maybe you get 49.5 or something like that. But either way, it was definitely great to see a lot of those fans there. That's very cool. Definitely, it played a factor in this game, I feel like, to at least a certain extent. I will say my general thoughts on this game is I was not thrilled with the Canadiens' effort in this one at all. Obviously, it's hard to complain when you come out with 2 points. No matter how it happens, you get the win, you get the win. I'm not going to complain too much about that, but, I did not love the effort. I felt like there was a little bit too much of, guys looking for, stats, looking to set up Cole Caufield for his 50th and not, just playing our game the way that we've been playing it over the past, 7 games up to this point to be on this win streak that we're on here. So I'm not thrilled with the way that this is all, that all shook out in this one here. I feel like the Canadiens were a little bit unfocused, a little bit, off their game a little bit. And, New Jersey, and your credit to them, obviously they're still in a playoff push. I mean, I don't think that it's likely that they're going to make the playoffs, but, they are only 7 points away from a playoff spot at this time. So they're not exactly, fighting for nothing right now. So, they played a great game, in my opinion. I think they took advantage of a lot of the mistakes that we made in this one. Dobes had to stand extremely tall, and he did exactly that. He made a lot of great saves there, 35 saves in this one for Dobes. He played very, very well in this one, but obviously, it's a crazy thing to say. Like a couple weeks ago, back in the California road trip, it felt like, goaltending was the bane of our existence, and now we're at game 76, and we're talking about how the fact that, we had a goaltender save us in this one, and that the only reason why we won this game is because of Jakub Dobes in goal. It's a crazy turnaround, but we will absolutely take it. I think, again, like it's great to get wins, especially in games where we don't exactly play our best, but I think, going forward here, we definitely have to get back to our game, play a little bit sharper. We have another chance tomorrow against the exact same team, and the Devils there to, get that 50th goal, but also, focus on, playing our game and playing the way that we want to play. So going into this one, we started in the first period. Jaden Struble absolutely lasered one. Cole Caufield had a lot of great chances to get that 50th goal very early on. Had like a breakaway opportunity like a minute into the game. They just couldn't get a shot away on. He had a couple of great chances there, and then it ends up being Cole Caufield who does the setup job that turns into a playmaker for a night, setting up Jaden Struble for his second of the year. And this one is an absolute laser beam. Jaden Struble just like fires this thing right off of the back bar and out. It's like in and out in like a fraction of a second. It almost like I didn't know. Watching myself, I didn't know that was going in the net, and all of a sudden we started celebrating, and all of a sudden it's a goal. But yeah, it was an absolute laser beam of a shot, and very deserved for Struble. I feel like obviously he scored a couple nights ago back when we were playing Columbus, I believe. But very deserved for him to get rewarded for his efforts. I feel like he's been playing great this year. Definitely the reliable. And it's great to see him get rewarded for his efforts there, and he does exactly that. Cole Caufield with a great setup, and Arbor Jacki gets an assist on that one. So, I think that might be the only time this season, and probably the only time for a long time, that Jacki and Struble will both, counter in on the same goal there, but very cool to see that happen there. So again, that's Jaden Struble's second of the season, and an absolute bomb from him to get things started for us. Cole Caufield gets his 35th assist on that one, and Arbor Jacki his second assist of the season on that one. So so some unsung heroes a little bit, and Cole Caufield doing a lot of the dirty work to make that all happen. Then we go into the second period, and we really start to pour things on a little bit. We get a power play opportunity that does not last a whole lot, because Cole Caufield does another great job being the setup man. I think a lot of people were looking at him tonight to be the one taking all the shots, and he definitely had a number of shots on net to try to score that 50th goal. But on this one, he gets the puck in his like down by the goal line position, and instead of going for that short side rip, he passes across the crease to Demidov, who is wide open for that one-timer opportunity, and Demidov does not miss from there. He buries that one for his 17th goal of the season. So Lots of guys that are, kind of closing in on goal milestones here. Like Ivan Demon's only 3 away from a 20-goal season now, which is very impressive, for a rookie campaign. Obviously, Cole Caufield, nearing 50 here. And then we also have Slavkovsky, who's sitting at 29 goals right now. He's only 1 away from a 30-goal season. So, lots of different things going on right now. So, obviously good to see, Demidov, I think he's been playing very well as of late. He gets rewarded for his efforts there, gets a nice goal. Caufield, a great setup, and then Nick Suzuki gets himself an assist on that one. So that's Ivan Demonov's 17th goal of the season. Cole Caufield adds another assist to get to 36 on the year, and Nick Suzuki his 68th assist, which pushes him, just a little bit closer to 100 points on the season as well. So very exciting from all of those guys. A very nice goal there, and then a minute or so later, Lane Hutson gets an unassisted goal there, kind of a kind of broken play a little bit. The third line is kind of driving into the zone. Get a puck on net, and it kind of goes all over the place. Jake Allen is kind of like way out of his crease. It squirts out to Lane Hutson in kind of the high slot area. Lane is able to walk in and just rip this one in to mostly open net there. He just had to dodge his own teammates to make sure that one went in. So very nice goal from him to give us that 3-0 lead, and that's basically where the game should have ended there. And I think things kind of went south for us a little bit from there. But again, Lane Hutson doing what he does best. He's all over the ice. He does what he needs to do. Obviously, there's been some ups and downs with him this season. In my opinion, he's not been as great lately as he has been, throughout the season. But he does a great job to get that goal there, and that's definitely a goal that we needed to have there. But then, a couple minutes later, Dawson Mercer get things started for the Devils here, and this is really nobody's fault on this one. This goal is just like, if you go back and watch it, Dawson Mercer absolutely just snipes this thing. There is not much that Dobes could do on that one. Not much that anybody could do better. We really gave him a bad angle and really just, dared Mercer to take that shot there. And he took that dare and absolutely lasered that thing into, you could probably only, if you go back and look at the clip where he actually scored on Dobes, you could probably only fit 3 puck widths total in that area in general. Like, there's not a whole lot of room in that area where he put that puck, so it's a very nice goal from him, and that's pretty much all the Devils needed to get back into this thing. They were down and out after that Lane Hutson goal, and then Mercer brings the momentum back into the building on the side of the Devils and gets the team into it. And that's pretty much all they needed to get back into this thing. And then really where we start to collapse a little bit is on that 4-minute double minor power play. We have a double minor power play in the end of the second here. We're up 3-1. We have a great chance to maybe add another one, get Cole that goal that he's looking for, whatever. But instead, we just can't establish zone time. We get our top line gets off the ice after 45 seconds of being on the power play. I don't understand what's going on there. And then just some bad play, bad zone entries. We just can't seem to hold on to the puck while we're on the power play. It's a long power play, where we still have, a good amount of the momentum. And what ends up happening is we give up a 2-on-1. Dobes makes the save, and then we try to make a fast break going the other way. We lose it, and then we give up another 2-on-1 with basically the same guys. Another time over, and this one ends up going to the back of the net because generally everything was bad about that is what I would say. I'm just not thrilled at all about the way that went on. The first 2-on-1, things happen. Obviously, they're trying to be aggressive. They want to get back into this game. Dobes bails us out a little bit. And I don't even mind, shooting back the other way, trying to go for a fast break on offense, but, not at the expense of defense. And that's something that I've been saying, so often in this season is, the Canadians often forget that they have to play both ends of the ice here. We send way too many guys going the other way, trying to get an odd man rush going. And then all of a sudden we cough it up and, we're going on another 2-on-1 opportunity there for the Devils. And even to make matters worse, Bolduc just kind of gives up on the back check there. If you go back and watch that goal, Bolduc is on or trying to back check Jack Hughes on this one, but just gives up on the play. It ends up going back to Jack Hughes, who taps it into the wide open net because there's nobody there. Bolduc just stops skating on that one. So not thrilled with that at all. Not thrilled with anything that went on that entire power play. It's just not not something that we want to see. It's just frustrating that, like, you're up 3-1 in a game, like, you should be walking out of the building with 2 points easy. And we do walk out with 2 points. Obviously, I'm not gonna, sit here and, complain too much about a game that we ended up winning, but, I think like stuff like that is just not gonna fly when we get to the playoffs. It shouldn't fly anywhere. We need to be a little bit better on the power play in general. I feel like our power play, we do have one of the best power plays in the NHL, but I feel like a lot of times, once our power play doesn't work after the first kind of attempt, a lot of times it's very difficult for the Canadiens to reestablish zone time and get those second chance opportunities that other teams are able to get because they have good break-ins to the zone, and they're able to establish that power play zone a little bit better than we are. So I think that's something that we need to work on a little bit. And obviously, whenever you give up a shorthanded goal, something went wrong on your power play, and that needs to be addressed a little bit. So a tough one there going into the third period. We kill off pretty much most of the third period. Obviously some more chances for Cole as we go into the rest of that third period there. But of course, they pull the goaltender. They get that six man out there, and then Timo Meier, another really nice snipe there. Pretty much nothing that Dobes can do on this one. There's like 4 or 5 guys, in and around the front of the net in between Meier and the goaltender. So, he's got very limited vision to be able to see what's going on there, and he absolutely just rips this thing post and in. It's an absolute perfect shot, almost as perfect as that Mercer one to get things started for them. So, just a series of unfortunate events there in that first and third goal. That second goal should just never go in my opinion. Obviously, once we get into that position, it should go in. It's very easy for that to go in, but we should never be putting ourselves in that position in the first place. So I'm frustrated by that second goal. I'm frustrated by the fact that we spent the entire third period trying to fend them off or whatever, and without Dobes playing the way that he's been playing, it could have been a hell of a lot worse for the Canadiens in this one. But obviously, we definitely deserve to get scored on at some point, and that's what happens with Timo Meier on that 3-on-3 or that 3-3 goal there. So just frustrating is my thing. I feel like a team that's gearing up for the playoffs and wants to play against the best of the best, we're going to end up playing one of Tampa or Buffalo probably. So we need to be a little bit better, because teams like that are going to abuse us for not being able to play full games and not being able to defend. And if we're on our power play and we're giving up shorthanded opportunities, they're going to take advantage of those things. So kind of just a little bit of a wake-up call, in my opinion, just to be like, hey, you can't play like that if you're gonna compete in the playoffs. So hopefully they can take that into the game tomorrow and moving forward and clear things up a little bit. But just a little bit disappointing in this one. We do end up coming with the win. Obviously, it was a wild overtime that followed there. Dobes had a couple of scary moments there. There were definitely some chances for some of our guys as well. Some of their guys definitely had some chances too. Then end up going into the shootout, which no goalie was prepared to make saves in the shootout. Apparently, Dobes obviously got the better of Jake Allen in this one, but Cole Caufield scored, Demidov scored, but then they had their guys score, and it ended up being Oliver Kapanen, and I believe the 5th round of the shootout, who gets the eventual winner there. So nice to see guys from the depth coming in the clutch there. Too bad we didn't have Texier in the lineup for this one. That might have helped us out a little bit, but Oliver Kapanen gets the better of Jake Allen there. One of the only guys who isn't a former teammate of Jake Allen, but he gets the better of him there, and that gives us that 2 points. So definitely somebody to celebrate. Obviously, that gives us 100 points on the season too, so that's very exciting. But my moral of the story before I stop complaining about the game is just that we have to be a little bit better going forward and into the playoffs here. Like, efforts like this are just not going to generate wins when we're playing against the best of the best come end of April into the summer here. So need to be a little bit better there, but a win is a win. Obviously, we can be excited about that, and we can also be excited about the fact that we have another chance to do a little bit better, have a little bit of a better overall game against the exact same team in front of our home fans tomorrow. So very exciting there. Let's take a look at the standings a little bit before before we head out of here today. With that win, the Montreal Canadiens actually move into second in the Atlantic. It's kind of a goofy looking graphic as of right now because Buffalo has obviously clinched a playoff spot. And the Montreal Canadiens have not clinched a playoff spot, but the Montreal Canadiens are ahead of Buffalo in the standings, so it's a very confusing thing. Obviously, Buffalo and Montreal both with 100 points each. We've got the better of Buffalo right now due to our games played overall there. Our regulation win counter isn't quite as good as some of the other teams in the top of the league there, so that's going to hurt us moving forward a little bit. But it's nice to see the Canadiens move out of that third place in the Atlantic and challenge Buffalo and Tampa for the division lead, and maybe we'll get home ice advantage or something like that. So I'm very excited to seeing that. Obviously, the 100 points, we ended up with 91 points last season. I can't even tell you the last time the Canadiens got 100 points. It was probably like 10 years ago or something like that, if I'm being honest. So very exciting to see that triple-digit number by the Montreal Canadiens standings there. So, very nice job. It's just a reflection of how good this team has been. Ups and downs, of course. Obviously, this game kind of reflective of the fact that the Canadiens are still very young and still learning how to be a good team and compete on a nightly basis, but it's very exciting to see that 100 points, and I'm very excited to see where they go from here. So that's pretty much all we've got going on now. There's not much reason to look below us at this point. I feel like at this point the Canadiens only need I believe one more point in the standings total to clinch here. So unless we kind of start losing every single game from here on out like we did last year, knock on wood there, we should be good to make the playoffs here. It'll just be all depends on what happens in terms of position and opponent and all of that stuff going forward. So that is pretty much all I have for this one. Very exciting to see that 100 points on the standings there, but we cannot slow down now. We need to continue to, if for nothing else, just, for the sake of being ready for the playoffs and being ready to go for game one, we need to continue to play our game and continue to be, solid offensively, defensively, all of that stuff. I think we have all the tools. We have everything we need. We just need to make it all, come together at the right time. It seems like we're doing that. Obviously, we're on a game win streak right now, but I still think we can shore things up a little bit, play a little bit more solid down the stretch here, and gear up for game one. So again, that is pretty much all I have for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you 24 hours from now after another 2 points, hopefully, and hopefully that 50th goal coming in front of the home fans on Sunday night against the Devils.